Welcome to TOOP TV's newest segment, Fireside Chat. The original Fireside Chat was a regular radio show used by presidents to inform the public of the latest issues. It originated in 1933 and ran until 1944. But now the Fireside Chat is back and we're using it to tell you about the latest real estate issues. It's uninterrupted interviews with the experts in the know. So sit back, relax and enjoy Fireside Chat.
Welcome to Fireside Chat, and today our guest Justin Hazell, and he is the President of the Property Council, which is one of the major players in property here in the state. So for a bit of background on Justin, hand over to you, mate. Tell us about Justin Hazell.
Okay, well, Tuvi, as you've rightly acknowledged, I'm the State President of the Property Council. I've been in that position for almost a couple of years now. The Property Council represents most of the big players in the industry. We represent developers, we represent property owners. We're essentially an advocacy organisation that acts on behalf of the property owners and attempts to encourage appropriate decision making by government.
Justin, you know pretty much everything that needs to be known about what's happening in this town and this state, so I want to pick your brains on a few things.
Sure.
Particularly interested in your thoughts of the Riverbank precinct and whether that's all going ahead, which of course links with the Adelaide Oval.
Yeah, well, from my perspective, the Riverbank precinct is one of the most exciting rejuvenation, repositioning projects that the state's had for years and years. I don't think there's any question that it will go ahead. The question is all about how far they go in terms of the delivery of the rejuvenation of the Riverbank precinct, what's in, what's out, where the money's coming from, whether there's private participation in terms of the delivery of it or whether it's fully funded by the state. So they're all the unknowns, but no question about it, it is a fantastic project which will eventuate. It's obviously going to include linkages across the Torrens over to the Adelaide Oval precinct, and very, very exciting. I'm expecting that it's going to include things like cafes, restaurants, there might be a bit of retail activity, there's probably going to be a new hotel, there could be an expansion of the existing casino, linkages into the casino precinct. Fantastic.
Now, in terms of if it doesn't go ahead, the consequences, because the people who may be objecting to this, probably the local residents or whomever they may be, it would be a pretty big blow for the state, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it would be a massive blow for the state if it didn't go ahead. And I don't actually think that the state has the luxury of being able to decide whether it goes ahead or not. It's a question of being forced to make these kinds of changes within the CBD in order to continue the repositioning of South Australia in a better light and making it a more vibrant place to do business, more pleasant place to spend time, and it's going to happen. We can't just sit on our laurels and let it pass. This is an opportunity, we've got to make it happen.
Now, Justin, I'm just thinking if you were a CBD resident or owner of any business at all in the CBD area, what you would be thinking if you had between 30 and 50,000 people in the middle of winter brought into the city. It's got to breathe some oxygen into the place, isn't it?
Absolutely, without question. Adelaide many years ago was a ghost town. Over the last 5-10 years it's started to change. We've now got quite a lot of a residential population which is currently accommodated within the CBD. There's also a lot of student housing which has been developed in the CBD, which is continuing to reinforce the relevance of Adelaide in the international context. And I think that an extra 30, 40, 50,000 people on a Friday night all going down to Footy Park, going to
well, they could go down to Footy Park.
Going to the new home of football within the CBD is going to be a fantastic outcome for everybody.
And in terms of, you mentioned Footy Park, you're in the property business, what do you think would happen
to Footy Park?
Yeah.
Well,
let's put you like nothing like question without notice.
Yeah, no, funny you ask. Look, Football Park is obviously a accommodated on a fairly substantial piece of land. There is no question that the land will be considered to be considerably underutilised once football has moved from there to the CBD, and there will be opportunities that will be explored for the redevelopment of some of the surplus land. It'll be a pretty good place to live, actually.
I tell you what, wouldn't it give Westlake, look at the winners. Westlakes and everyone that surrounds are going to have a massive win with all of that new infrastructure going in there.
Yep.
And just completely regenerate and rejuvenate that area. Prices will definitely be pushed, you know, I think.
Yeah, look, well, there's going to be a couple of things that will happen. Infrastructure through the tram extension, which is proposed to go down to West Lakes, will result in densities being pushed down there. So we'll have this mini transit-oriented development happening down there. Not many, because there's already some pretty good shopping facilities down there. We'll get some residential population in some decent density. There's already great walking paths around there, walking around West Lakes. So I think it's all going to be very, very positive for West Lakes. It's just a question of making sure that the development gets it right.
Well, it wouldn't just be West Lakes, it'd be all of the people that are on the transit route down there, because that all comes to life.
Yep.
And my personal view on the City of Adelaide residents and people that own property in the City of Adelaide and North Adelaide, I think it'll have a massive positive impact. It has to, because suddenly it's a buzzy place to be, and suddenly you know, it's an exciting precinct.
Well, that's right. I mean, over many years, there's been a bit of reluctance from South Australian residents to buy and live in CBD apartment style development. People have been traditionally drawn to the lower density stuff, the traditional housing product types, whereas if we get Adelaide put on the map and make it an exciting and interesting place to live, then I think those old attitudes are going to be more susceptible to change.
So, talking about change, I remember, I'm old enough to remember when you used to drive down Rundle Street and then they turned it into a mall. So, you know, you don't need to make comment on that.
Are you that old?
Yeah. And, you know, there's always this kind of debate about any change, but what is the future of the CBD as we know it in terms of like Rundle Mall? I know they've got some plans there. What's your comment on that?
Yeah, look, they have got a lot of plans, and they are being championed by Martin Hazy, who's the chairman, I think, or maybe Theo Maris is the chairman, but Martin Hazy runs the Rundle Mall Management Authority, and he is championing a revival of Rundle Mall. He wants to see Laneway Activation, which is similar to what's occurred in the Melbourne model, where you've got all these little cafes and eateries and down cobbled side streets, which are all designed about increasing the hours in which Rundle Mall is open for business. At the moment, you walk out of your city office at 6 o'clock and it is an absolute ghost town. Yeah. Whereas under this new model, it's proposed to extend the operating hours of Rundle Mall, bring more life into the mall, make it respond to what we want, what the Adelaide consumer wants, make it a better place, a nicer place, something that offers more than we've been offered there for years. And it may also involve attracting new tenants who are unique to the Adelaide marketplace, new retailers.
So some international big names?
Yeah, well, possibly. I think that's certainly something that's on the agenda, something that they'd like to achieve. Rundle Street over recent years, no, not even recent years, over recent months, over the last 12 months, has undergone a bit of a resurgence. This has been championed by Theo Maris. He's been getting some great Melbourne brands into Rundle Street to create a point of difference. Yeah. And I think that there's an opportunity here, and Martin Hazy's recognised it, to drag these international and national players into Rundle Mall and to reposition Rundle Mall as a place which differentiates itself from everywhere else that you can go.